this Acumatica tutorial. My name is Zach Mayer with the Mayer Group, and today we're going to take a look at creating a customer at a high level. So we're not going to necessarily go through every field on the customer screen, but take kind of a basic approach to how do we go about creating a brand new customer account in Acumatica. I am currently logged into my sales demo environment using 2024 R1, and we're going to begin the process of creating a new customer in the receivables module. When I open up that modular workspace, I'm going to see the customer's profile screen in the bottom left corner. Now in this case, you can also see I have it favorited, so I could also navigate to that customer screen in my favorites menu if I choose to star that screen name. If you see some additional options, you might be in your full menu, so we can of course find it in this example in both our full and quick menus, which can be modified using our gear icon in the top right. In this case, my customers are checked off to be available in my quick or simplified menu. At this point, I can use my new customer tile at the top of the menu to begin entering that new customer account, or I could just click into the customer's profile screen to come to my generic engrave all of my existing customers. Here I can see all the customer accounts that are already in my system. In this case, I have 121 current customer accounts, and I can go ahead and start creating a brand new account using the Add New Record button at the top of the screen. When I click into my Add New Customer button, I'm going to come to our customer entry screen that we see here. Now right off the bat, I have my customer ID, which is a field that could be auto-numbered. So if you wanted the system to automatically generate a customer ID for you, that is an option, as well as extending this customer ID to a maximum of 30 characters. In this case, we only have the default of 10 set, and we're just going to create a customer ID called Mayer. Next, we have our customer status, which will default to active, but we do have some additional options if we want our customers to be on hold. Maybe they have a credit hold, they're a one-time customer, or they are currently inactive. So we do have some options there that can impact if we're able to enter a new sales order for this customer account or not. Next up, we have our customer class. Now, customer class is a required field. We need to have a minimum of at least one class created in the system, and some examples that we have set up in this demo environment are more so based on the location or region of the customer. So in this case, I have international customers, Canadian, European, domestic, but customer class can really be any way that you want to categorize or group your customer accounts. The benefit of the customer class is it will also default some information for you. So in this case, when I pick a domestic customer account, it will default the country to the United States. Now, any of the defaulted information that comes from the class can always be overwritten, so you're not locked in to use that class level data. I can also see my customer class is going to set a default credit limit of $10,000. We have a default terms code of 30 days, end of month statement cycle, a default check payment method, write-off limit, currency ID, so a couple different defaults that will come from the class. Another area that will be defaulted will be the GL accounts. So I can see here all of my default GL accounts that will be copied over to my customer as soon as I choose this customer class, again with that ability to override if necessary. If we wanted to create any free fields, any type of data we want to store that's not available in a stock field, we would use an attribute for that type of data, and the attributes that are visible on the customer screen are also driven by the customer class. So if I created some type of a free field that could apply to my customer account, I would select it here on the class, and that would make it visible on the attributes tab of the customer screen. We also have some defaults available for the mailing and printing settings that we will take a look at on the customer screen as well. So once we've configured the customer class, in this case we want to go ahead and use domestic, we can now move down to our general tab. First off is going to be the account name. So whatever the name of my customer is, that will populate anywhere we select the customer in the system. We're never going to only see the customer ID. We'll see the customer ID as well as the account name, and I can always search using either of those values. So if you do go the route of auto-numbering your customer IDs, you can always search for that account using their account name. Next up, we have our address level data. And what's important about this address is this is the account address. So this is just the primary address you want to associate with the customer. It does not need to be the only address that you save with the customer. We're going to see where we can have some additional ship to locations. We can have a specific billing address, a specific shipping address as well. So I threw in an address here for our company office, and we can then see some additional account info down below. If we wanted to store a phone number, if we wanted to have an email, a website, any of this information that you would like to store. It is not required to have this data. You can see the only required field is our country with the asterisk right next to it. So if you do not have a complete address, it's not going to prevent you from creating the customer account. But of course, the more information we can provide, the better off we will be. From here, I've gone ahead and I've filled in my primary information. I have my primary contact, maybe a primary email address that differs from the generic account level address. And this is going to create a contact record for us, again, directly tied to this customer account. Our financial tab, we're going to have the ability to select our terms code. Now this was defaulted for us by the customer class, so we have 30 days already populated, but if I wanted to change that to a different terms code, I could do so here. I see my statement cycle ID. If I wanted to restrict the visibility of this customer to any particular branch in this company, I could do so, with again that currency and write-off information available here as well. Maybe I want to have my credit limit for this particular customer increased from whatever the default the class was. All the information can be set on the financial tab. Now billing is where we're going to start to see some of the information that we populated on the general tab copied over. So in this case, we have a bill to address and a bill to info section, which currently show everything that we just keyed in on the general tab. If I had a separate billing address or a separate billing contact that differs from the account level address or account level info, I can override those here. And whatever I populate in these fields on the billing tab will be the default used for any invoicing for this particular customer. So that's a great example where we may have a different address for billing or a specific email account that's used for those financial communications with billing and invoicing. We can store that directly on the billing tab. If we had a parent-child relationship for any customer accounts, we can set that here under the parent info with the option to consolidate balances and statements, as well as some communication default preferences. Does this customer want us to send their invoices, dunning letters, statements by email or printing them out? It will never prevent you from printing. For example, if you don't have those checkboxes selected, it's more so just some suggested behavior during the order and communication process. We're then going to see our default payment method displayed down here, which we'll also see on our payment method tab. Again, that came from our customer class. On our shipping tab, we have some very familiar sections here that hopefully look pretty similar to the billing tab. Just like we had the ability to override and set a specific billing address and billing contact for invoicing, we have the ability to override and do the same thing for shipping. So if there's a particular shipping address that differs from the account address, or a particular phone number, attention line, email for shipping that we would like to store, we can do so here. Of course, we can always override those at the order level as well, but this is if we have a recurring contact specific to shipping that we want to default. This is a great place to store that. If we then have a default branch, we'd like to set price class for any pricing lists that we've created. Those are available on the shipping tab, as well as our tax information, default shipping settings such as our ship via codes or shipping terms. If this customer is backorder allowed, ship complete, or cancel whatever we do not have on hand at the time of order fulfillment, lead time, etc., all available on the shipping tab. Locations are where we have the ability to start configuring some additional ship to locations. Now we can see right off the bat, I already have a main location stored here, and that main location was created by default by the system using the primary location that we already populated. If I click on my location ID, I'm going to get a pop-up window that's going to show me that particular primary address that we already saved. So this again looks just like the information we've already seen from the other tabs, that primary address we keyed in, and the primary contact information. If we had additional ship to locations that we could ship to on a recurring basis, not just a one-time address, this would be a great place to set those up. And we can have an unlimited number of locations that you can then select from in a pop-up window when you place a new sales order. Now, if there is a one-time address, you're not going to ever plan on shipping there again, no need to go to the effort of saving it on the customer profile. That would be a great example of overriding the address level data on that particular order. And whatever address level information you override or a ship to address you select from the list we set up here, on the sales order will flow through to your shipment transaction as well as your invoice. So all of that will flow through the process naturally. Here we have our payments method tab, so we can see again our default check was selected by the class. If we want to select a different default payment method or activate or deactivate a payment method, we have those settings available here. Contacts work very similar to the locations. So we had the default primary contact that we created by keying in that information on the General tab. That went ahead and created a brand new contact record for us. If we have additional contacts that we would like to set up tied to this customer account, we can, again from this tab, create an unlimited number of contacts the same way we can create ship to locations. If we're tracking commission or using salespersons in Acumatica, we can link a salesperson directly to this customer account. So if I want, for example, Rick to be the salesperson associated with this customer, I can select them here, and then we have their default commission rate populated as well. We could link multiple salespeople to the one customer, and then we can indicate who the default should be. If we add any of those free fields or that additional information that doesn't have a specific place to go in the stock fields, and we created an attribute to store that data, when those attributes were linked to the customer class, that would allow them to populate here on this tab. And then whatever type of data the attribute allows, whether it's free text entry, if it's a drop-down selection or a combo box, we would see those attributes listed here where we can then populate that additional information. Activities will show any communication we've had with the customer that we've linked here. If we've created an email, a task, an event, chat, phone call, note, any type of information we would like to log against the customer account, we would see that down below here, almost like a timeline with each date associated with that particular activity that we recorded. The GL accounts were again defaulted by our customer class, with the ability to override here if we want to choose a different account or sub-account for any of the areas listed here. Finally, our mailing and printing. If we're going to go the route of sending emails out of Acumatica and we want to set who that particular email should be sent to, we can find our email or our mailing ID in this case with the report that's linked to it. So in this case, our invoice email. It's using an invoice email template, and I could choose who that email is going to go to by default by selecting my recipients down below. So maybe I want to go to my billing contact. That would be a good person to receive my invoice. But maybe I also want to copy the account email, and I can set up who that should be sent to, copied, blind copied, from my list of contacts, whether that's the primary billing, the primary account, an employee, or a contact that we created against the customer account. One final area I did want to quickly mention for customers as well is the ability to store attachments. So we can store those attachments, whether it's a PDF, an image file, against this customer account using our file uploader, as well as storing any notes. And the unique element of notes against a master record, a customer or a vendor, for example, that differs from a transactional level note is the ability to have a pop-up note as well. So if there's any high-level important information that anybody who's keying an order in to the system for this customer should see, we can have a pop-up note stored here. Anytime I then go ahead and I select this customer on a new order, whatever is in this pop-up note section will pop up on the screen and must be dismissed before they can continue keying that order in. That is going to cover it for the high-level customer creation in Acumatica. If you have any questions regarding customer creation or anything Acumatica related, do not hesitate to reach out to the Mayor Group and we will be happy to answer those questions for you. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give this video a like and make sure to subscribe to our channel for future Acumatica tutorials as well. Thanks for watching.